WWE presents Money in the Bank this Saturday, June 7th, 2025, from Los Angeles, California, inside the Intuit Dome. And whilst many people will be focusing on the titular men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches, could we be set to see some major returns and creative surprises up the sleeve of WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque and his creative team? We'll let you know 5 names that could be set for major returns this Saturday in Los Angeles as part of the Money in the Bank PLE in this countdown video. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Before we begin today's countdown video, you can see right there, we're currently at 22,149 subscribers. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU, that being the Wrestling News universe, as we get closer to our goal for 2025 of 25k. Yes, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. You can also become a member of the WN365 roster. The link's in the video description below. You can also click the join button, or you can scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. Speaking of the sidebar, you can see all upcoming live streams we've got here at Wrestling News 365. That includes this Saturday. It's going to be a very busy one for pro wrestling fans. We've got WWE and AAA Worlds Collide earlier on the day on Saturday. We'll be live for a watch along for that, and then later on the returns possibly we could see together in a watch along for Money in the Bank. We'll have a watch along and a post show for that, so be sure to join us live. Click that notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live on Saturday. Now, let's begin with this countdown video. And as I mentioned in the intro, it's Money in the Bank this Saturday, June 7th, from the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, California. And whilst many people will be talking about, of course, the Money in the Bank ladder matches for both the men's and women's division, possibly maybe a title change when it comes to the Women's Intercontinental Championship, or that big tag team main event of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso facing John Cena and Logan Paul, could we see some major returns to WWE television of some high-profile talent? Could there see some surprises up the sleeve of Paul Levesque's creative team? Let's get into some names that could be set to return in Los Angeles on Saturday, beginning with Bayley. Now, we haven't seen Bayley since just before WrestleMania 41. Of course, cast your minds back to WrestleMania 41. What was meant to happen at WrestleMania 41 was Bayley teaming with the Women's Intercontinental Champion Lara Valkyria to take on the Women's Tag Team Champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Now, that didn't end up happening, because what happened prior to the WrestleMania 41 Saturday, we found out that Bayley had been attacked backstage. Adam Pearce then said to Lara Valkyria, well, you're going to have to find another tag team partner. You've got 24 hours to do so. And find a tag team partner she did, because she found the man, Becky Lynch, to be her tag team partner, returning to WWE television for the first time in many months. And they won the Women's Tag Team Championships. Their reign, though, didn't last very long, did it? Because the next night on the Raw after WrestleMania, they lost the titles back to Raquel and Liv, and in the process, Becky Lynch turned heel on Lara Valkyria, turning heel, and also later revealing that she attacked Bayley. She was the one that removed her from WrestleMania 41. Now, at Backlash, Becky Lynch did challenge Lara Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and she lost. She didn't capture the championship she's never won before. Well, she's going to be challenging for the title again at Money in the Bank, but the stakes have been raised even higher. This is a last chance match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, if Becky Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title as long as Lara Valkyria is the champion. If Valkyria loses, she'll be forced to raise Lynch's hand and acknowledge Lynch as the better woman. Now, some are predicting that Becky Lynch is indeed going to become the second ever Women's Intercontinental Champion, defeating Lara Valkyria, and maybe just before Valkyria is about to raise the hand of Lynch saying she's the better woman, this is where Bayley could make her return. It does seem set up ever since Bayley was taken out by Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 41, or just before WrestleMania 41, that all roads would be leading to Bayley versus Becky for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And then you have to sometimes look at the big shows that are on the calendar for WWE, one of which is SummerSlam. SummerSlam, now a 2-night affair. The first ever 2-night SummerSlam is coming up later on this summer, and many are predicting we could see Bayley versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at the biggest event of the summer, and maybe that feud starts when the Valkyria and Lynch feud ends at Money in the Bank. So I wouldn't be too shocked if we saw Bayley, the role model, try and take on the man and maybe attack the man after she's won the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, what about Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa? Well, we haven't seen the former Gorillas of Destiny for quite some time, have we, on WWE television, beginning with Tonga Loa. Now, we haven't seen Tonga Loa since Survivor Series last year. He was part of the War Games main event. Of course, he was part of the new Bloodline, teaming with Big Bronson Reed, taking on the original Bloodline, as well as CM Punk in the War Games match. Now, in the match, of course, the Bloodline lost, the new Bloodline, and after the match, it was revealed that Loa had suffered a torn bicep and would be out of action for 7 to 8 months. Now, of course, that was in November. 7 months from then, that's in June. We're in June now. 8 months, possibly July. It's not impossible that Tonga Loa could be set to return to WWE television. Now, why he would return at Money in the Bank? Well, I guess there's a possibility, considering that, you know, there isn't any Jacob Fatu on the show or anything like that. Maybe there's a situation where Solo Sikoa, he is in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men's division, and maybe Tonga Loa, along with his brother Tama Tonga, could be trying to help their tribal chief win the men's briefcase. Now, when it comes to Tama Tonga, why haven't we seen him? Well, on the April 18th episode of SmackDown before WrestleMania 41, LA Knight had assaulted Tama Tonga in the parking lot, smashing his hand through the door. As a result, he was written off television due to an unknown injury. Now, as I said, we don't really have a lot of details on Tama Tonga's injury or how long he was expected to be out for. Since then, we have seen new people come in to the new version of the Bloodline. We've seen JC Mateo, of course, formerly known as Jeff Cobb. We've seen tension continue to rise between United States champion Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. And maybe that could all come to a head in this match. Maybe we could see a returning Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa be the people that can make the difference, and shockingly have Solo Sikoa win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, winning the briefcase in the process and winning a future men's world title match. Again, when it comes to certainly Tonga Loa, his timeline would match up with returning right about now. With Tama Tonga, we don't have a lot of details, so maybe that one will depend on how long he was out of action or scheduled to be out of action for. But don't be surprised if the new Bloodline looks a lot more full after Money in the Bank is all said and done. What about Asuka? Now, Asuka's name has been coming up over and over and over again when it comes to possible returns. When is the former women's champion going to be back on WWE television? Now, we haven't seen Asuka for a very long time. At Backlash France last year, May 4th, 2024, Asuka and Kairi Sane lost their women's tag team championships to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargo. It ended their second reign with the titles at 99 days. Now, 2 days later on Raw, Asuka later revealed that she was suffering from a knee injury for months and had successfully undergone surgery. Now, during Asuka's hiatus, Damage Control quietly disbanded after the release of member Dakota Kai. Kairi Sane has since returned to action on Monday Night Raw, but competing as a single star. And many people are just wondering, when is Asuka going to be back? Now, at the time, when it comes to a knee injury, usually that puts you out for around 9 months, possibly even 12. Again, she's been on the shelf for over a year at this point. There were rumors and rumblings she could be set to return for WrestleMania in the documentary series WWE Unreal. That trailer that's been online currently, you can see Asuka was at one point listed on the board for possible WrestleMania 41 creative pitches, but then a subsequent report came out and suggested that actually they were very optimistic pitches for her to be back in time. Not many people expected her to be back in time for WrestleMania, let alone to build to WrestleMania. But WrestleMania 41's come and gone. We're now several months removed from WWE's biggest show of the year, and still no Asuka. Now, as for when she could return, many people would probably look to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and possibly she could maybe reunite or possibly face off with the likes of Julia. She's got history with Alexa Bliss. She's got history with Rhea Ripley. She's got history with people in the match, and possibly we could see a situation where Julia teams up with Kairi Sane, teams up with Asuka in a new version of the Kabuki Warriors, and that's how Julia is going to win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match and win the briefcase for a future Women's World Championship opportunity. Or maybe she could just come back to cost somebody else the ladder match in the process. We don't really know. But you feel like the Empress of Tomorrow, we're not going to have to wait too long before she returns to WWE TV. It's just a matter of time before Asuka is back in action, or certainly back on WWE TV. Paige. Now, this one is someone that's not currently signed to WWE, but Paige, I feel like every time I do these return videos or surprise videos or countdown videos, particularly when it comes to people coming into WWE, we always talk about Paige, the former Saraya in All Elite Wrestling. Now, the reason we talk about Paige possibly coming back to WWE is because she is no longer All Elite. She had her last match for AEW in October of last year. She lost a four-way match on a Title Tuesday episode of AEW Dynamite. Now, as mentioned, that ended up being Saraya's final appearance in AEW. In November of last year, with an interview with The Buzz, Saraya announced she'd be taking a hiatus from wrestling to focus on other projects. And in March of 2025, she announced her departure from AEW, ending her near 3-year tenure with the promotion. And it maybe wasn't how people thought it would go. She did win the AEW Women's World Championship, but she was part of the group The Outcast, which never really caught on. People did sort of speculate that maybe Saraya had lost a step in the ring, which is understandable considering the amount of time she'd been out the ring for and wanting to protect herself because of the injury she sustained to her neck in WWE, which caused her to retire. But for those saying, well, WWE would never clear Paige, well, that's not necessarily the case. Of course, AEW did clear Paige, but WWE were going to look into clearing the former Divas champion prior to her departure, or actually after her departure from WWE. She left WWE, of course, in 2022. She announced her departure from the company in June, effective July, when her contract would expire. And she even told a story that actually Triple H, after this, once he took over control from Vince McMahon of creative in WWE, later on in 2022, he reached out to Paige and said, would you be interested in coming back? We don't think you should have been let go. And also, coming back, we'll look into getting you cleared again. We'll go through that process. We'll see if you could actually return to in-ring competition, etc., etc. So there was a desire not only to bring her back, but get her to wrestle inside of a WWE ring once more. Now, ultimately, Saraya, Paige said, I'm going to go to AEW. She liked the idea of being able to be free to do outside projects, but maybe because the AEW career didn't work out the way it was, and certainly with WWE Evolution coming up next month, the all-women's pay-per-view Evolution 2, maybe Saraya, Paige, this is the perfect time for her to come back. Now, once again, could she get involved in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match? She certainly, again, has history with a lot of people that are in that contest, namely people like Alexa Bliss, people like Naomi, but there's also people in there that she's never faced off against before. Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Stephanie McCurry, Julia. There are so many names currently in the WWE Women's division that Paige has never been in the ring with. So now might be the perfect time for her to return in the biggest way possible in Los Angeles at Money in the Bank and get ready for next month for WWE Evolution, the second ever all-women's premium live event. And finally, Roman Reigns. We haven't seen Roman Reigns since the Raw after WrestleMania 41. Of course, in the main event of WrestleMania Saturday, Roman Reigns was defeated shockingly by Seth Rollins in that triple threat match involving CM Punk as well, thanks to a shocking betrayal from Paul Heyman, not only turning on CM Punk, but also turning on Roman Reigns and aligning himself with Seth Rollins. Now, on the night after WrestleMania 41, we saw Reigns come out to try and get a piece of not only Seth Rollins, but also Paul Heyman, but that's when it was revealed that Bron Breakker was also part of this faction alongside Heyman and Rollins. Since then, they've also added another member in Big Bronson Reed, and many people have been waiting, when's Roman going to return? Well, of course, Roman has limited dates in his contract, only a few per year, and he's been away from WTV because he's not needed and he only has so many dates. In addition, he has been doing film roles as well. Roman Reigns is actually filming a current film series right now. He's been also rumored to be in the new Street Fighter film. So he's quite big schedule outside of WWE, and that may also play a part in whether or not he is actually going to return Saturday or not. But you feel like when it comes to Seth Rollins being in that men's Money in the Bank ladder match, does Seth Rollins really need to win the briefcase? Does Seth Rollins need to be involved in the World Championship picture? Or could we see a situation where maybe CM Punk tries to cost Seth Rollins the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, but he's neutralized by the likes of Bron Breakker, by the likes of Big Bronson Reed. They take him out, and then it looks like Seth Rollins is free and clear to climb the ladder and retrieve the briefcase, only for the OTC to re-emerge for the first time since the Raw after WrestleMania and cost his former Shield teammates the match and maybe allow somebody else to climb up the ladder and reclaim the briefcase for a future World Championship match. So you feel like Roman Reigns, once we start getting into SummerSlam season, with SummerSlam only a couple of months away, it feels inevitable that the Tribal Chief will return for a big match on the first ever 2 nights WWE SummerSlam in August. So there you go, guys. There are 5 names that could be set for a return this Saturday at WWE Money in the Bank. What are your thoughts on those people that could be set to return? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which ones are more likely than others? Let me know your opinions, your hot takes. Is there anyone I've missed off the list as well? Let me know your opinions, as always. I know you will, in the comment section below. And as you can see right there, we're currently at 22,150 subscribers, so we're getting closer and closer and closer to 25k. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU, that being the Wrestle News universe. In addition, you can become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can also click the join button or scan the QR code when it appears in the sidebar. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. Whilst checking out the sidebar too, you can also see all the upcoming watch-alongs, post-shows, live streams we've got on the channel. That includes WWE and AAA Worlds Collide on Saturday, as well as WWE Money in the Bank will be live for a post-show and a watch-along later on in the evening. I appreciate everyone for tuning in for this countdown video, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.